As readers and viewers, we often overlook the hints and clues that the authors leave us in the story. Kijimoto, the author of Boruto, is a master at leaving clues and hints that we just don't realize, but later on in the story, we come to find out that this has been foreshadowed in the past. And I believe that he has used this technique to hint and foreshadow one of the Jougan's most broken moves and abilities, but we just haven't realized. If Ida's omnipotence powers are so great because it comes from Shiba Otsutsuki, imagine how strong the Jougan is since it comes from an Otsutsuki god. One of the most significant foreshadowings when it comes to Boruto and his Jougan was foreshadowed in the first episode of Boruto. Kijimoto has already hinted towards the most broken ability that the Jougan may possess. However, a lot of readers just haven't realized because they just don't believe the Jougan is canon or they weren't paying attention. So let's discuss the first part. Is the Jougan canon? This is a heavily debated topic because there's a portion of the community that thinks the Jougan is canon and another portion that just doesn't believe it is canon since it hasn't appeared in the manga. So let's actually discuss this problem. The Jougan has appeared in the anime multiple times. We have when Boruto was fighting Urashiki, we have when Boruto was fighting versus Inoue, we have multiple different occasions. Also when he met Tonori, he had the Jougan, and when he was going through a little arc where he was using a bit of the Jougan's ability, we do see Boruto with a Jougan. But the real problem comes when we discuss the Jougan in the manga. Has the Jougan been in the manga? That's a lot of things that people say. We haven't seen the Jougan in the manga. We haven't seen Boruto with the Jougan, so it's not canon. That's what a lot of people say. But this is not actually the case. We have seen the Jougan in the manga. This is true. We have seen the Jougan in the manga with the Otsutsuki god panel, where we see an Otsutsuki god with the pupils being white and the surrounding area being black. This is the design of the Jougan. However, the problem comes is that Boruto doesn't have this design in the manga. In the manga, a lot of people say that it looks like the Byakugan, but in the anime, it is just the Jougan. It has the exact same design, and this is the problem that a lot of people have. They say it just doesn't look like the Jougan. It just doesn't look like the Jougan that we saw in the anime. Okay, I get this point, but I can't really say personally that it also looks like the Byakugan either, because if you look at the Byakugan, whenever it is activated, you would see the surrounding area, you would see some nerve endings, whatever you call it, I forgot what you call that exactly, but when they activate it, you see when Hinata activates her Byakugan, you see some nerves, you see some stuff around her eye, but we just don't see that for Boruto, so I don't necessarily think that it's the Byakugan either. So we have to look into this. Is the Jougan really canon or not? So I went back, did a bit of research, and saw this quick interview one of the people in the Boruto team had to say about the Jougan. I can't pronounce the name, I won't even try to disrespect them, but you'll probably be able to see the quick interview that I was able to find. This interview goes back to 2017, early on in the beginning of the series, where they were talking about the Jougan and whether it is real or not. When he was talking about the Jougan, he says that the Jougan is definitely real, but they haven't finished the groundwork. They don't know exactly what they're planning for the Jougan to be and the abilities it might possess. So that's what they were talking about the Jougan, almost confirming that the Jougan is real, but they don't really know what is going to be attached, what the abilities are going to be at the time. This was in 2017. I think it was a year into the production of the series. We haven't had any more interviews that happened. If you guys know any more interviews related to the Jougan that I just don't know, you guys have to let me know, but I don't think we have had any other interviews regarding that. And there's just also another reason why the Jougan has to be canon, in my opinion at least. We've seen it yet again. The Jougan appeared yet again in the final episode of Boruto. After it went on his hiatus, we see Boruto with his Jougan, and we see Kawaki with his Dharma Wheel. Right now, if you deny that the Jougan is canon, I personally don't know what else can convince you, apart from you just seeing it in the manga. So, what I would say is, I would trust what he says. If they all know that the Jougan is a thing and not something just for the anime, I would believe that the Jougan is canon in my opinion. I would trust his opinion over anybody else. So is the Jougan canon? To me, yes, but I would understand if you don't believe it is the case. But if you don't feel the same way, I don't know why you would be watching this video. If you're watching this video, you love the Jougan and you believe it's canon, just like me. So let's go on and talk about the abilities that the Jougan may possess. To understand the significance of the Jougan and its abilities, we need to look at the Otsutsuki god, who is described by Ishiki as a person that all Otsutsukis should strive to be like. He tells Code that he should go around from planet to planet, eating chakra fruit and evolving until he becomes a god, and that Otsutsuki god possesses multiple Jougans. So it means that the body or the aura of the being that all Otsutsuki should strive to be is a being with the perfect eye, with the Jougan. This suggests that the Jougan has some type of abilities that are a lot broken or that may seem perfect compared to the other abilities that we have seen other Dojutsus possess. It is also important to note that Boruto is just not the same as Naruto. The series is completely different. Naruto is a story about an underdog who had to work hard to achieve everything he had. In contrast, we have Boruto, who started off strong and who has to carry the fate of the entire world. If Boruto has to carry the fate of the entire world, we could understand why Boruto is growing so fast in power and why he has already surpassed his father at a young age. He will eventually obtain the Jougan, the most broken eye in the series, and he might be one of the most broken characters at the end of the series. This is where we go back to the foreshadowing that Kishimoto may have already given us about the Jougan's abilities, which will potentially be one of the most broken abilities that you guys have ever seen. In the manga, we learned that Kawaki possesses Ishiki's eye, so in the time skip, Kawaki will have Ishiki's Dharma Wheel. I will just call it the Dharma Wheel, we don't have an official name, but when you say Dharma Wheel, you know that I'm talking about the eye that allows people to shrink and store things, just like Ishiki was doing, just like Ishiki was spamming in the past, and we have started to see Kawaki do the same in the Code arc and in the manga. But why didn't he do the same thing with Boruto? Why didn't Kawaki shrink Boruto's sword? This is the problem that I have found after I have gone back and rewatched this scene over and over again. It just doesn't make sense to me why he let Boruto use his sword to clash with him. This is where I came up with my own personal theory. The theory goes on to try to explain why Kawaki wasn't able to shrink Boruto's sword. And it might suggest that the Jougan has an ability that helps to nullify any Dojutsu's ability, which is why Kawaki wasn't able to shrink Boruto's sword in the time skip scene that we saw before. It would mean that when Boruto activates his Jougan, people are unable to use their Dojutsu's powers, or they might just not be able to use chakra. I don't know exactly what type of ability it would be, but all I would know is that it would nullify Kawaki's ability to use Ishiki's shrinking ability. That's what I would believe if we are to go to the fact that Kawaki just didn't shrink Boruto's sword. But it is not that simple. It is a theory at the end of the day, and there's a lot of different components that could potentially refute what I'm saying. Because if you remember, Ishiki didn't do the same thing in the fight they had Naruto, Boruto, and Sasuke. When they were all ganging up on Ishiki, he didn't shrink Sasuke's sword. Sasuke was able to use his sword mostly throughout the entire fight. So a lot of people may say that it just disproves the theory because Ishiki just didn't want to do it. So Kawaki potentially just didn't want to do it. But people might say that Ishiki isn't a good example because he was on the brink of death and he didn't have enough time and wouldn't want to waste chakra on just shrinking Sasuke if it wouldn't change much of everything since he was so much stronger. This is also a possibility and could explain why Ishiki didn't shrink Sasuke's sword. So let's discuss the theories that you guys have come up with. And I have seen a lot of interesting theories on this case, starting off by a comment made by Joshiki. I think the Jougan is an eye that can do a lot of things, but I think its main ability would be sensory things. 1. I think that it can counter most senjutsu moves. That's why the Otsutsukis call it troublesome due to them using senjutsu which can't be absorbed normally, but the Jougan could counter it. 2. It could sense other people's chakra, even Otsutsuki's chakra when they make it disappear. 3. See in different dimensions. 4. Be able to time travel or stop time. This can counter Ida's ability since she couldn't see Boruto talk to Momoshiki when Momoshiki healed them when he stopped time. 5. I also believe that it can travel through different dimensions, like personal dimensions, and I would agree, we did see this in the fight versus Nue, where the Jougan allowed him access to the dimension that Nue went to. I definitely agree with a lot of the abilities that he is talking about, and I do find them interesting, especially the first one, as it goes a bit along with my theory, as the Jougan could potentially be a tool or dojutsu that helps nullify other dojutsus, or at least just find a counter to that specific dojutsu. The next comment is by Austin. According to an analysis I saw on a YouTube video, they think that the Jougan is a combination of the Byakugan due to its ability to look at chakra points, with the Sharingan when Boruto was able to dodge Momoshiki's attack due to him viewing it in slow motion, and at least a bit with the Rinnegan due to Boruto's ability to open gates when fighting versus Sumire. This is a thing. I believe that the Jougan has much more power to showcase. The key is to sit back and let Kijimoto do his magic. I definitely agree, and I find this very interesting. This was one of the most interesting theories related to the Jougan, and I definitely told him that, because a combination between all dojutsus, or the main principal dojutsus that we have seen in the series, would be amazing, and it would actually make a lot of sense. He does point out some case studies that does prove what he is saying, and I just think that this is definitely a possibility. The next comment is by SMG. My theory about the Jougan is that if we're going by the anime, it would have some sort of space/time-space manipulation abilities, especially if it is connected to Shibai, who I am almost sure can observe the lower dimensions with his Jougan. It might also have the ability to decipher senjutsu, like the Sharingan with regular jutsu. But I overall feel like portal creation and dimension switching might definitely be among its abilities, whether it be a higher dimension like Shibai or a normal dimension like Kamui. Thanks. I definitely find this theory quite interesting because we do see a lot of signs of it possessing dimensional or space-time ninjutsu that we have seen over and over again. We've seen this in the Nue fight, and we saw how it was almost able to see into time when he was fighting Urashiki. So this Jougan ability is going to be broken. So it could definitely be a case that the Jougan's dimensional abilities may be something like Obito, or it could be a greater addition and something that the gods use, or a different higher version of the Kamui, because we have seen that the version of Genjutsu comes from the memory manipulation that Ida has used. So we could have some things where Obito's Kamui comes from a Jougan move or something of the sort, something higher that Boruto may be able to use in the future. The next comment is by Michael. Now, after sitting and thinking, I said I believe the Jougan to be all three of the main eyes we know: Sharingan, Byakugan, Rinnegan. Now watching this, let's think back to the earlier episodes of Boruto. When the episode first appeared, I believe Boruto was able to see the flow of chakra/negative chakra. Plus, in his fight with Nue, we see his chakra point/chakra network hints towards the Byakugan. Moving on to a later episode, he punched the air and opened a portal, space-time, to engage and escape, hinting towards the Rinnegan. Moving even further with the fight with Momoshiki, Boruto was able to go hand to hand a little bit with Momoshiki, reading him and being able to block and counter a few of his attacks, hinting towards the Sharingan. Now, with all these things in mind, I believe that Boruto will be cracked, because let's say that the eye is exactly a mix of all three and hones and evolves it more, he'll have the Mangekyu level Genjutsu, he'll also be able to see chakra networks clearly with vital points, and what if he could use space-time ninjutsu? Or to take it further, what if his ability is to use the Susanoo, like the Jougan Susanoo that a lot of people have seen, being able to switch himself between space-times like Sasuke does, and also being able to use the Almighty Push, Universal Pull, a Perfect Gentle Fist, Limbo Shadows like Madara. It's so much good, but these are just examples of what Boruto could be used, hinting towards the God Eye. I find it quite interesting of the things that he brings up. This is quite similar to the theory that we discussed before about the Jougan being a combination of all these things. I would say that a lot of the abilities that he mentions would be a cool integration in Boruto's character. When we discussed Genjutsu though, I do think if Boruto is to have some type of memory manipulation, he won't be able to use it versus Otsutsuki's. As we have seen, it doesn't work versus Otsutsuki's. So this is something that he would have to use versus the regular civilians that he sees in the future when he goes from planet to planet. Maybe, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe it's to fight Otsutsuki's. Hey, maybe if he goes down the wrong path, he eats a chakra fruit. I don't know what he does exactly, but the memory manipulation or the Genjutsu, whatever you want to call it, he won't be able to use it versus Otsutsuki's. But I do enjoy this theory a lot since it does make sense. The Jougan might just be the pinnacle of all Dojutsu since it was the Otsutsuki god who had it. So now the next question that we must answer is why? Why can't Boruto use his Jougan? And if you want to find out the answer to this question, you have to watch this video right here as I discuss exactly why Boruto can't use his Jougan.